Hey friends, CORTEN STEEL is a great way to spruce up your backyard or area around your house. It can be used to make planters, and it can also be used as facades to cover block wall or cement work, and it will rust to a natural patina, which gives it a great look overall. So CORTEN STEEL comes in a lot of different thicknesses. The stuff that we're using on the steps it's an 1/8 inch or roughly a 10 gauge steel. You can get it in 22 gauge, 26 gauge. This metal behind me right here that we have as a fascia on top of a block wall is actually 24 gauge, so it's a lot thinner metal, but it will work for this application. The beauty about CORTEN STEEL is that it can rust and it never degrades, so it can rust over time and the metal doesn't break down. So even with a thin metal like this, a 24 gauge, it'll rust and patina, but it will never break down. So it will, well, I mean, I wouldn't say never, but someday it will break down, but it's going to be a long time from now. So you can go with a thinner gauge steel if you're gonna apply it as a fascia like this. If you're gonna use it for a step, which is commonly used for a step up or some sort of a tier in your garden, then you're gonna want to go with a thicker steel, so that when you step on the edge, number one, it's not gonna cut into your foot, and number two, it's just gonna be a lot stronger, holding back whatever it's holding back, or it's gonna withstand basic usage better than the thinner stuff. Obviously, if you made a step with this 24 gauge, it's just gonna bow out when you try to put any material behind it, whereas this is gonna hold back the material well. That's the benefit of CORTEN STEEL over traditional steel, is that yes, it will patina and rust and turn a nice rusty color, but it will not degrade. So, and that's really the main difference between regular steel and CORTEN STEEL. Yeah, so that's it. CORTEN STEEL. Alright, so here's the part of the project with the CORTEN STEEL, and this is installing the fascia on the front of these steps. We'll then fill the area above the steps with decomposed granite to kind of create a yin and yang, industrial and organic look up through these steps. We cut this CORTEN STEEL with a jigsaw. We drill some holes and we use these little 1/4 inch they're kind of like hammer and anchors. I don't know if you can see that. It's like a little 1/4 inch, hammer and anchor that we'll use to fasten it to the cement. I think they're 2 inches in depth. So that's basically how we install this piece. Here on this part, we're going to go every 2 feet. We just used a level like so, and went every 2 feet for our rivets, whatever they're called. Actually, this is what they are. Hammer set drive anchors. There we go. Hammer set drive anchors. So we're going to go basically every 2 feet, 3 rows down on this piece. This is a pretty big piece, and I think that's going to be strong enough to hold it up against the block wall. This block wall that it's going up against is actually it's grouted, so cement was poured inside of it. More of a structural block wall. It's not hollow. So if it's hollow and we were trying to put the anchors in, they would go through and probably be loose in there. So by grouting it, and by grouting this block wall, it makes it a lot stronger, a lot thicker, and we can put those anchors in, and they're going to be nice and solid. We pried the large piece of CORTEN steel up to match the other piece, and when doing so, we broke a little corner of the cement. So make sure you put something over it when you pry or protect the other materials. So the patina look of this CORTEN steel happens in roughly 6 months of time to regular weather. You can speed it up. There's a mixture of 2 cups hydrogen peroxide, 2 tablespoons of vinegar. You mix it all together, and you can add a little bit of water, but you can just spray it on. That's like full concentrate strength, and that will speed up the patina process. But personally, I think it looks better if you let it patina naturally. It gives it a more unified kind of finish to it. Again, it's going to take a while. It takes about 6 months. I'm in Southern California, where it's a pretty mild desert climate, so it takes a while. If you were in, let's say, New England or the Pacific Northwest, it probably would go off a lot faster than that, obviously with the rain. The one thing you can do is when you get your sheet metal, scrub it with some soapy water, and that will remove the oil from it so that it will be more of a raw steel and it will patina faster. That's just a tip on getting this finish right. For welding purposes, I'm just using my trusty Lincoln welder. I'm using Vulcan gasless flux core welding wire. This is 0.035. It is flux core. I'm not using a gas mix. And this Vulcan brand you can buy at Harbor Freight. It works well, and you just want to make sure that you use the proper settings for the thickness of steel you have. So you want to check your gauges and make sure that your settings are correct. It may take a few attempts to get it just right, welding this steel, but it's just like CORTEN or weathering steel really welds just like any other normal steel. It's not like welding stainless steel. It's pretty simple, it's pretty easy. So good luck. So you can see here I used the CORTEN steel as a step, and what I did was I made brackets, and I welded those brackets in the corner and then bolted them into the block wall, and that keeps it nice and rigid. This is actually 1/4 inch CORTEN steel, so it's super thick. I dug down about 6 inches into the soil and buried the bottom edge of it. I just wanted to make sure that this wasn't gonna bow out or lose its rigidity over time, so I really got it in there good and packed it down with the decomposed granite on top. Alright, that is it. These are the finished CORTEN steel steps, otherwise known as weathered steel. We still have to put the decomposed granite in. That will finish off level to the top of these. But that's basically how we fasten the CORTEN steel to cement. People have all kinds of different ways they do it, but this is how I do it. And I think it looks pretty good. You just have these small little rivet kind of looking fasteners, and it holds up pretty strong. Yeah, so if you liked the video, subscribe. There's a link to some CORTEN steel planters that you can purchase pre-made online, and they're great. They look great with all kinds of plants, especially drought-tolerant plants seem to look really good in those type of planters. And hopefully you guys have the chance to do your own CORTEN steel project. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.